Welcome to this Star Wars Day special of the Lockdown series talk. And I hope you guys don't mind me being distracted once in a while because I have to check a few other things online in order to be sure that everything's working just fine because I don't really have any reference here. It's kind of a weird talk, just talking to the computer screen, just seeing your own slides and your own face. I don't actually even see my own face. So, anyways, I'm very happy you guys tuned in. I hope everything works just fine now. And well, what we're going to do today is I'm just going to give you an overview of the history of Star Wars or Jedi tricks in slacklining. So I hope you guys enjoy all of those tricks the same way as I do. For me, it's been a great journey in slacklining, and all of this journey has been somehow connected to a few special moments which are at some point the Star Wars tricks in slacklining. So it all started with the Luke Skywalker many years back. And ever since then, a lot of very special tricks or very creative moves in slacklining have gotten Star Wars related names. And as we have Star Wars Day today, I'm just going to talk about the history of those tricks, and I'm just going to talk about the future. And we'll have many special guests in the show. So I got a lot of cool videos from other Jedi slackliners out there. And I hope I can just give you some insights into their achievements, their tricks. And so that's why I basically put all this talk underneath the title of the Galaxy of Heroes, because I think there's a lot of cool people out there being creative, and I just wanted to also show you what we can achieve as a community. So that's the reason why I want to start the talk, also not with myself, but with a little video I got from Justin Rages from the United States, and he'll just introduce us to why the Star Wars tricks are so special.
Hey, what's up? I'm Justin Wagers, and I'm a Highline freestyler from Boulder, Colorado. The Jedi tricks are cool because they're totally unique to slacklining. You know, of course, there are these tricks that we've repurposed from other sports, like the backflip, of course, is not an original slackline trick. It's just something that we've adapted onto slacklines and onto highlines. But the Jedi tricks are different because they're so unique. You just look at the Luke Skywalker. That's just a move that is not possible in any other sport, and it's just so unique and creative and cool, and it catches people's eye when they see it. And it's the same for the Yoda roll, the Obi-Wan, and now we have the Almighty flip. These are tricks that just catch people's eye, and they're sick. They're just super.
All right. So Justin basically just told us why those tricks are so special in his opinion, and I can definitely relate to what he says. And I feel a bit about the whole thing in a very similar way, because the very first Star Wars trick, the Luke Skywalker, basically was the very first trick on a slackline using the leash as an element to the whole game. Before that, we were doing some tricks on the slackline, but the leash was only there to arrest our fall. It was only something which was connected to a failure, because it was connected to the moment where you lost balance and where you basically fell off the slackline, and it saves your life. That's a bit about the positive side of it, but after all, it's always about a moment where you fail. And from the very first fall I took on a slackline, I just wanted to turn this failing, this falling down, into something more positive, into something special, and into something which is a trick or a great achievement, instead of being just the moment where you lose control and where the leash saves your life. So I just felt like the need to create something out of this element in slacklining. And the Luke Skywalker being the trick, I'm just going to explain it to all of you guys. I mean, you probably all have seen the video. You probably know what Luke Skywalker is. But in my talks I'm giving to people who don't really know anything about slacklining, I usually use the following slides or the following animation to just explain them what a Luke Skywalker actually is. So the idea behind it is to jump away from the slackline into the void, and you're just going to swing around it, basically like Superman. That's a little bit how I envisioned the whole thing. Just jumping off the slackline, flying through the air, turning once around and landing on the slackline. So that's how I came up with the whole thing, and that's how I started trying it. But the trick, in fact, is much older than this. I wasn't the very first person to ever try this, and I wasn't the first person to ever imagining this. Like, this trick goes way back. In fact, it all started with the very first highline which ever been done on this planet. And it's, of course, the Lost Arrow Spire. The real first highline, I would say, like the really, really high first highline, which was walked by Scott Balcom in 1985. So I met Scott in 2015, basically on the 30th anniversary of his feat walking across this line on the Spire. And he told me, meeting obviously on the Spire, he told me that back then, when he was trying to walk across this gap of the Lost Arrow Spire, he obviously took falls, and he even took leash falls, even back then. And the idea crossed his mind, at least, he'd said, that he could like swing around and get on the line somehow. He didn't really dare try it back then, because leash falls were very rough things back then, and they were not really appreciated in the community. You weren't really so solid with the gear that you were willing to take intentional falls over and over to achieve a trick like this. So the idea crossed his mind, but he never really followed up on it. So the next little step in history, I would say, for the Luke Skywalker, it actually took me a few days to like collect all this information, and it's definitely a lot of missing parts in there. So I would encourage you guys, if someone is watching or you know someone who has tried the Luke Skywalker and stuff, please send me a message. I'd be really interested in finding out who tried it when, who ever thought about it, or any kind of information related to it is very interesting to me. So I'll appreciate if you guys send me your experiences, your ideas, and your videos and stuff as well, of course. So the next step is in 2009. So that's basically when I started to think about this trick and I started trying it. I didn't know that people before me imagined it, but I mean, obviously, as this is something quite connected to our sport, it makes sense that a lot of people thought about it. Anyways, Anatoly Maltsev, a German slackliner, and myself, we were in Ostrov, and we thought about this trick, and I want to show you a little video from this trip back then, especially with a little interview of Anatoly explaining the trick and also already mentioning the name of it.
Ja, also der Luke Skywalker, das ist ein Trick, den noch niemand gestanden hat. Und es geht eigentlich nur darum, seitlich rauszuspringen und kopfüber dann in die Leash zu fallen. Dann dreht man sich praktisch um die Line rum. Und das Ziel ist es dann wieder aufzureißen. Man macht praktisch eine ganze Drehung um die Line und landet dann wieder mit den Füßen auf dieser Line.
So, as you guys saw in the video, he already called it a Luke Skywalker in 2009, basically saying that this trick has never been fully landed yet, but we're trying it. And as you could see in the video as well, we were trying it with quite a long leash. So it was an intentional big whipper, and we were also apparently quite far from landing it. So I tried it together with Anatoly and some friends in 2009 a few times, but then the idea also just slipped out of my head the same way it came, because it wasn't really possible. So the next thing I found online was a video from Andy Lewis in 2010 approximately, who tried a variation, I would say, of this trick in a competition. So that was a trick line or a high trick line competition at the spot where Andy Lewis also landed a backflip and like amazing other tricks, so you should definitely watch that video. But what he also tries in this video is a variation of the Luke Skywalker, and I just want to show you guys that as well. So yeah, Andy jumps off the line in the same manner as I did later on, and then he flies around it, and he just doesn't make it completely on the line with his feet, but he catches the line, like just crawls onto it in a chest bounce position. So that was about the first like variation of it I ever saw landed, basically. After that, a few years, it was also silent about the trick. I couldn't find anything online. I couldn't really remember me trying it or other people trying it at that time. And then the next thing I know about it is that I saw a video of a guy trying this trick, an American slackliner, as much as I remember. I saw this video, as much as I remember, on Facebook, but I cannot find this video. And I have really tried to look it up very hard. I tried every source, and I tried a lot of people. I asked a lot of people, but I would be really curious to find out who actually was that guy, because I never really got to know his name. And I just saw this American slackliner trying the Luke Skywalker, getting his feet on the line. So he wasn't really like on top of the line yet, but he was like hitting the line with his feet sideways. And I saw that video, and the whole thing just like got to my attention again. I remembered that we tried this trick a couple of years earlier, and I felt like I needed to go out again and really try it again. So I was living in France at the moment in 2013, and I had a very good line close to my home, a small gorge where we went to highline with a few locals once in a while, and there was a 25-meter line, very easy to rig with a lot of bolts on both sides, so a pretty bomber setup, and I could rig my slackline there on my own, and I tensioned it a lot. Like back then we still tensioned lines quite a bit, but on this line I like on purpose tensioned it to a trick line tension. I could literally do butt bounces on this line and stuff like this. But the whole idea why I set it up was to try this Luke Skywalker move again. And as it went, I'll just show you this first video of my first tries in 2013. So I'd say the start of the jump was pretty good. I went away from the line quite far, and it worked out quite well. But then I just really lost control in the air, and I couldn't really manage to get back up on the line at all. I couldn't even manage to get close to the line. And well, I'd say that was about to try as well as it went on this session. I went back home, and I kept like finding myself lying in bed at night, just visualizing the whole movement and the idea. And I just could not get rid of this. I just, every night before I went to bed, this idea came in my mind, and I just repeated it and repeated it in my brain until I landed it in my brain over and over and over. So I felt like at some point I realized that what I was doing is visualization. I was literally just like training myself to believe that this was possible. I was training myself to imagine the moment of landing it, and I was visualizing and trying to find out a way of how I could like come around and come back up on the line. And during those like imaginary games I was playing, I also figured out a way to like get closer to the line and to accelerate in my to accelerate around the line, which was to pull on the leash. So one night I really like just this idea popped up in my head. I was like, I could literally just pull myself closer on the line, on the leash. So the other day I went out and I tried it again. And it was about 3 days of really hardcore trying, probably like 200, 300 tries. And I just wanted to show you the best of those. Because I really believe this quote from Anthony Robbins is what it is. It is a very, very accurate description of how you get to realize your dreams.
You ready? Let's go! Yeah! For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, yo. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15%
down in spite of the fact that some people still think that they know him, but fuck him, he knows the code. It's not about the salary, it's all about reality and making some noise, making a story, making sure his click stays up. That means when he puts it down, Todd's picking it up. Let's do the Hennessy anyway. He never really talks much, never concerned with status, but still leaving him starstruck.
A lot of good tries. It was a lot of very, very close calls. Like I had this one try was like literally doing like 3-4 steps forward until I fell over. And like it was many moments where I literally felt like now I need to stick it, and then I still kept falling. All of the falls were pretty nasty falls because it was a very tensioned and like polyester tension slackline at 25 meters. So it's just pretty harsh impacts every time you fall into it. The leash I used was also like at least longer than standard back then. So it was all in all, I'd say, pretty rough to try this trick, especially for so many tries. But after the 3 days, I went home really being sore. Like I de-rigged this line and it's about a 20-minute hike back to the car. I barely made this 20 minutes hike because I was so completely drained of energy. At home, when I got out of the shower, my girlfriend asked me if I was like beaten up because I really was bruised all over my body. And I'd just say no, I just tried a new trick which eventually could be the Luke Skywalker. And well, so I had to take a break. That was obvious. Like I couldn't just keep on going like this, even if I was close. And the reason why I was keeping going like this was because I always had this feeling that like the next try, it's gonna be it. It must be it. I'm so close. But like even if you're so close to sticking something, for me it was still very far away because I still like didn't fully believe it was possible to some degree because I haven't seen it before. I was the first to really like get that close, and it was obvious that it could happen someday, but it still felt very far away. So I just had to separate myself from this trick again to just like let it sink in and to give myself some time to process what I just had experienced and lived through. And after about a week of just like doing other things and just getting completely off of this whole thing, I decided to go back again and I tried again. So yeah, as you can see, it worked out. It finally happened, and I was so surprised myself when I was like landing on the line, standing right up again. I couldn't believe it, and it was only my 8th try on this day. So sometimes it really is the solution to a problem to just like get away from it and just give yourself some time, some rest as well, and then just refocus on it on a later point. Because if you are in the process of something like this, you're so caught up by it, you have no chance of reflecting to anything. You have no chance of recovering or like resting in your mind. You just want to try again and again and again. And you know it's going to eventually happen. But sometimes really the faster way to get this to happen is to get away from it, to just leave it rest for a little while and then just come back with fresh energy and a fresh mind and do it. So that trick being done, I edited the video, I put it on YouTube in 2013, and I was like, it was one of the best moments in my life, I would say, when the time came that I was able to share this, because I'd done it there on my own, and I just could show it to the world only by video, and that was a glorious moment to me. Just put that, like, push that button to like make it public and put it on the Facebook groups and stuff back then, and then came basically the one moment, the one thing happened, which still to this day is so fascinating to me, even more fascinating than me being able to land this trick, which was like so impossible for a long time, is the fact what happened after. So I put that video on YouTube, as I said. It obviously made its way around the world, and within just 1 week, there was 2 other videos from Danny Mansik in Czech Republic, and especially even a little bit before that, the video from Mickey Wilson from the United States, landing that trick on the very next weekend. Both of them needed like less than 50 tries. They made it happen in 1 day, and they made it look pretty easy and pretty cool. After that, in the following months, there was like videos from all around the world popping up with like people landing the Luke Skywalker, and like it was really cool to watch how this idea, which I just basically put out in the world, this little seed, like it started to grow and it started to spread around the whole world. It started to like take hold in different communities, and people were so stoked about this move that they tried it over and over again until they landed it. And that was really the fascinating part. Not only that they repeated that pattern that I put out there, but they were creative and came up with their own solutions or their own ideas about this trick. So for example, I just wanted to show you this, they call it 360 Skywalker. So I'd just say it's a Luke Skywalker variation where you don't jump into overhead, but you basically just jump sideways and, well, see yourself.
Come on, man. Stick it, stick it, stick it. Yeah!
As you can hear them.
Stick it, man. Try one more.
And the right message at the end, like just try one more. It's not over. Once you land it once, you always want to do more. And that's the cool thing about us slackliners. We never stop. We always progress and we always want to do something more. And Danny Mansik like did the next step as well when he basically did the Luke Skywalker to Luke Skywalker. He jumps off in a cold-looking Czech Republic slackline place, and he jumps off again after doing the first full rotation. And the unimaginable thing happens. He lands 2 in a row. Yeah, and that was just like a couple months after I put it out there being the first. It's incredible what people in the slacklining world like are capable of doing and imagining, and it's for me even more fulfilling that we can share those achievements, we can share the stoke of all of this, and we can inspire other people to try their own tricks, to come up with their own ideas, or to repeat the stuff we did before. So as I can imagine, you guys probably liked to see the video where I didn't quite make it, and as we all love watching fail videos, especially I know one guy who actually spends a lot of time watching fail videos, and I don't know if you knew that about Friede Kühne, but he's a big one into fail videos. Like one of his favorite fails in general are scorpion fails. If you don't know what that is, look it up on YouTube. Or any other site. I'm actually not quite familiar where you find videos like this, but Friede definitely know. So he sent us a video of his attempts to do the Luke Skywalker. Enjoy.
Ja, schaut gut aus, komm. Yeah!
Oh, shit! Alter! Alter!
Scheiße!
Yeah, so I read in the comments that video's a little choppy. I hope that it works out for you. I don't think there's anything I can really do about it right now. And I hope you can still enjoy the videos. Yeah, that last fail of Friede's was a shot in the nuts for sure. It looked pretty well, and that's one thing which can go wrong in the Luke Skywalker so easily. If you just slip forward, you basically fall right with the leash between your legs. So yeah, that can go wrong in many ways, but Friede eventually also did his own add-ons to the Star Wars world in slacklining, and I'm lucky enough to present you a little video where he's going to explain about his achievements himself. Because as I just said earlier, like the saga continues. It's about that the stoke of all of those tricks is spread and it goes around the world. So that's why we're gonna see Obi-Wan Kenobi, or also known as Friedy Kühne.
What's up, friends and fellow Jedis? My name is Friedy. I love slacklining. In fact, I'm standing on a little slackline in my garden right now. Around 4 years ago, I landed the first ever Obi-Wan, which is a highline bounce trick or highline freestyle trick. And I named this trick after basically the first Jedi that came to my mind that wasn't Luke Skywalker himself, because of course that trick had already been landed and named. Very epic, original Jedi trick. And yeah, after the Obi-Wan and the Luke Skywalker, many other crazy highline bounce tricks followed. For example, there's the Qui-Gon Jinn, maybe not so famous or not so well-known freestyle trick, which I also first landed. It's where you hang upside down in your knee pits, basically, and then remount in the same bounce. Obi-Wan is where you hang on your arms and then remount within the same bounce, kind of through a sort of Chongo-ish movement. And then, of course, there's the Yoda bounce and Yoda roll, which are two different tricks. Lukas can explain you the difference, I'm sure, if you don't know it already. And yeah, I'm excited to see more Jedi-themed crazy bounce tricks come up. Maybe one day the Darth Vader will be landed, and whatever that might be. And I hope you're enjoying your talk with Lukas Irmler, one of the mightiest Jedis around, obviously. And yeah, I would love it if you guys joined my my open talk, my quarantine lockdown talk through the ISA, kind of Q&A style that I'm doing tomorrow. I will basically be talking about the dark side of the Force. I'm just kidding. I'll be talking about free solo highlining, which some people might consider the dark side of highlining, but I never said that. So, enjoy your talk with Lukas, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow, and may the 4th be with you.
Thank you, Friedy. And as you heard from him, he's gonna do his own lockdown series talk, which actually is gonna be not tomorrow, as he said, but it's gonna be the day after tomorrow, on the 6th of May. So this is gonna be about free soloing. And well, I hope you enjoy this Q&A style talk of Friedy's in 2 days. And well, what Friedy was talking about in his little short video in the garden was also the Yoda. So I guess all of you, or most of you, probably know what the Yoda roll is. And a lot of times these days I hear people just say or call it the Yoda. But actually the Yoda itself is another trick. So another trick, as you might think. The Yoda roll is the one trick where we always roll around the slackline. We all have seen that, and we'll see it later in this show. But the Yoda was actually I'd say, variation or adaptation of the Luke Skywalker to longer slacklines. So I just want to show you this little clip Valentin Rapp filmed in Canada at the Hunland Falls, one of the I'd say one of the prettiest and craziest spots I've ever been to. Also, a spot where Friedy Kühne wrote history himself, so he'll probably talk about this in 2 days as well. So here is the original Yoda. I'm bouncing up and down. I'm just gonna fall into the leash, and then in the same bounce remount the line. So it is kind of a connection of a leash fall with an Obi-Wan, you could say. But well, it was in some way an adaptation of the Luke Skywalker to longer slacklines, because on the very long slacklines it's not really possible to roll around. I did a few other similar looking trick variations here in Gran Canaria with the Canary slackliners, and you'll see a few more in this little video. Just falling down into leash and remounting here with a rocket mount variation. So it's not an Obi-Wan anymore. We're these days mostly doing rocket mounts because it's a little more fluent motion. It's a cool feeling to just like fly up to the line like this. But all over, it is a variation of the Luke Skywalker, and we called it a Yoda in, well, basically just the consequence of being an adaptation of the whole Star Wars saga. So this was the Yoda, in case you didn't know that. And what I want to talk about next, as you probably have guessed, is the Yoda roll. So that is the one trick which is probably one of the coolest freestyle motion tricks. And it is the one trick which is still very possible on all the freestyle lines where we spend our days. And probably a lot of you know that Sam Valery was the first to stick the Yoda roll. But he wasn't really the very first person to try it. It was the same story as in the Luke Skywalker, that other people actually had the idea and came up with it. And Sam just saw that video and, well, took advantage of it, I could say. But no, he just like put the whole thing in a working place. He put it up there, and now we're all repeating it. And therefore, I'm very happy to have Sam on the show as well with a little video entry. Just enjoy.
So a few years back, I saw Raf Bacco do a Yoda roll on a waterline, and it was a video that almost nobody saw it. It was the really bad quality, and it was kind of a rodeo line that he used, and I was like really impressed by that trick, and I thought like, come on, I want to do that on a high line. And a week later, there was the chance to start trying it, and the goal of the day was, of course, just to stick one Yoda roll. And I started trying, and in the first tries, I really didn't manage to get around. I did like 3/4 Yoda rolls, and it felt like it's impossible to really get around, and I just didn't get the timing at all. And it took me like 30 or 40 tries to even get back to my feet, but like I had no chance that day. And at the same time, I was really boosted, and I thought like, okay, next day, same story again. I will just try until I really stick it. And yeah, in the end, the timing got better and better. And there were like 10 tries where I was like back on my feet, and I was like, now I have it. But no, I just didn't really stick it. And yeah, then there was this one try that I was back on my feet, and I could really hold the momentum of the line shaking, and I was like so happy after 2 days of investing so much time into this single trick to finally stick the first Yoda roll on a high line. As I said before, I wasn't the first person to stick a Yoda roll. It was Raf Bacco who sticked it first. And yeah, I kept trying, and it got more and more stable, and there were all over the world people popping up managing the Yoda roll. And because I always want to try something new, like a few months later I was like, hey, what about the back Yoda roll? And it was basically exactly the same story again. Like first day of trying, it was like no chance getting around at all. And only after 2 or 3 days of trying, I started like getting back to a upright position, and another 30-40 tries until I really sticked it. So that was the story of the Yoda roll in my eyes. Really fantastic trick, really a lot of fun to stick it. A bit frustrating to start at the beginning, because it really takes many tries to get somewhere, but once you manage it, it's one of the coolest tricks to stick.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, for this little insight in how you were going with the Yoda roll. And as you said, Raf Bacco actually was the first to try it on the waterline and also stick it. But Sam was the first to translate it to highlining and to freestyle highlining. And what I really find interesting in that little statement is that it is always the same process. It is always this idea which we either have ourselves or we just get inspired by someone else to try it ourselves. And then we just put in a lot of effort and a lot of tries. And like in terms of the Yoda roll, Sam says it was hundreds of tries, and I remember myself for the Luke Skywalker it was 100 or 200 or 300 tries. I don't really know for sure anymore, but it was a lot. And then for me sticking the Yoda roll and all those tricks, it always like involved many tries, mostly over 100. mostly also separated over days and days of trying. And it's just such a cool process of like working yourself towards a trick like this, and then sharing the trick and the idea of it with the world, and seeing that people appreciate it and like evolve it to their own creativity and their own idea. And so yeah, that is about the spirit, and that's also why I started the group on Facebook, the Highlining Freestyle group. It's all just about sharing our ideas and our creativity and helping other people to like find dreams and finding ideas to follow their own. And well, now we've talked about the Yoda, the Obi-Wan, and a lot of other things, and I just don't really wanted to leave out the dark side, because I think like in Star Wars, it's always like this good against bad. It's always about like the light against the dark and stuff like this. So in slacklining, um, I mean, don't get me wrong if I say it, but the Highline Freestyle people and the Trickline people, they're a little bit into a little fight, I'd say, these days. So, I mean, we're at least fighting a little bit about who's cooler, I'd say. So, and sometimes I'm not sure on which side I find myself here, but I have a little video from our friend Jan Rosa, and I would definitely say that the trick he's gonna present to us is from the dark side.
Join the dark side and get a free cookie.
Obviously, it's about the double backflip. And you guys will see that every attempt is probably way harder and crazier than all the other Star Wars tricks I showed you. And it involves like some serious flat fights. Yeah, and I really like that statement from Jan, you only fail when you stop trying. So he tried that double backflip for over 6 years. It was, as you said, like thousands of tries until he finally landed it. And I think that is about the spirit of those Jedi moves, those tricks, that you just never stop trying them. You will like pursue it until you make it, and that can take you a long, long time. But that is what the whole thing is worth, and that's why we all started slacklining, because we feel like we have something in us we wanted to show the world. Yeah, I have another statement from Justin from the States, and this is about the current level of Star Wars tricks in the world of slacklining, I would say. It's about the newest trick of the Star Wars series or collective. It's not really called a Star Wars trick, but it might well be. So enjoy this little segment from Justin and find out what it's about.
The almighty flip is basically a Yoda roll with no hands, or the way I did it was like a barrel roll with no hands. But I think the cool part about it is like, yeah, it was hard for me to do, but the harder part was for the community to develop to a point where that trick was possible, right? Because I'm just standing on the shoulders of what people did before me. Like, if the Yoda roll didn't exist, then there's no way I could be doing the almighty flip. And so the Jedi tricks and the almighty flip are really a testament to, you know, the slacklining as a community and how much we've been able to build off of each other's progress and just push the sport so fast.
Yeah, and this is very much what I agree with. It's that the whole tricks, like Almighty Flip, the Yoda roll, or even the Skywalker and all this, is a community effort. It is something which you could never have done yourself, because we all depend on the people who've done many other tricks before us, and on whom we build basically what we added to this sport, to this passion or this love for slacklining, whatever you might call it. So it is so important to like share our ideas out there, because other people might build their own ideas on ours, and that's the way slacklining is progressing. And I think because we are so freely sharing, and because our community is so much about sharing ideas and open knowledge, I think that's the reason why slacklining is such a fast developing and growing sport. And I really believe that we should at any like moment just really appreciate that, and we should really try to keep that up, because as our sport will grow, as our sport will also be more professional to some degree, it will also be more put into professional lists of ranking. It's going to be like more structured, it's going to be more accessible, and all of those things, like they will lead to the sport being endangered. And it is our opportunity and our challenge to just like keep it the way it is now, like to keep the original spirit and to keep this sharing and open structure of slacklining alive. So I have one last video I want to show you guys, and this video has never been aired, and it's also about the Almighty Flip, because Justin wasn't the first to land this trick either. Like there was a German guy, Axel Weber, who actually was the first to land the Almighty trick, the Almighty Flip. And when I saw this video, I could not believe it. Like it literally blew my mind, and I watched it like 10, 15 times in a row until I was like starting to figure out how this trick might actually work. And that is the fascinating thing about those tricks. They're so complex and they're so extraordinary that when you see it for the first time, you cannot believe that this is real. And I think that is also why those tricks are so encouraging, and why they're so good in like showing the world what we're doing, because they show this creativity and passion at the finest. And I want to show you this video from Axel Weber, where he explains a little bit about his progress onto the Almighty Flip.
So, about the Almighty Flip. Everybody probably expects a crazy story that I trained this trick for years and years and finally landed it, but to be honest, it's less spectacular. I had a friend visit me, and we haven't highlined for, or even met for over half a year, so we just exchanged what trick we were training, what we accomplished, and we had a midline session together. And in the end of this session, he was like, "Oh, Axel, I have to show you this one trick. It's super crazy. I've been training for it for quite a while, but can't land it, and it might be something for me." And he tried the Almighty Flip. And after seeing him, I wasn't really convinced that it was possible. I was like, okay, it might be super, super cool, but super hard, maybe painful, and yeah, I just didn't think about it much more. But then a couple of weeks later, on another midline session without him, I just thought, okay, I have to try this trick. Like, I can't just tell him if we meet again that I never tried it. So I went for it, had a couple tries, and I was super surprised. Even after the third try or second try, I managed to get like 3/4 of a rotation. And from that moment on, I was like, fuck, this is possible. I can do this. And so I just drilled it. On the 8th, 9th, or 10th tries, I actually overshot it. So from that on, I could just one try overshoot it, one try undershoot it, and slowly managed to get a feeling for the trick and get to the stick. I don't know, this wasn't actually too hard for me. I think my first Yoda roll took me definitely more than 100 tries. This one only below 50. I don't know, this trick really stands for me. It's like, this trick for me is about the motivation and the vision. Like, if my friend hadn't visioned it, to be that it would be possible. And if he wouldn't be that motivated, because he was super motivated about the trick, I probably would have never tried it and never focused so much. And yeah, in the end, it's all about visioning new things and keeping the stock level high. So enjoy, guys, and I hope you land it soon at some point.
Sick! Nice! Aber da war ich jetzt irgendwie auch gerade gar nicht drauf gefasst.
Yeah, thank you, Axel, for that little video, which you all can find online very soon. So my presentation went a little ahead of me. The question obviously always is, what is the future? And I think the future is very hard to predict, but I think it's just about the vision to create something new. And in slacklining, we have a very good tool to do that. And if you, what you saw like in the last half an hour, like there's a lot of people out there who came up with cool ideas, and sometimes they followed up on those ideas themselves, and sometimes other people like use those ideas to build their own tricks, their own achievements on it. And the important part is that we always keep pushing, that we always keep like searching new things, and then I'm very convinced that the future, if you do that, is all yours. So I hope I could inspire all of you guys to just like think about new tricks. And as you knew from, as you have heard from Freedy, well, I'd say that the Darth Vader is still out there waiting, and we don't know yet what it's gonna be. So if we find a new trick which is like as crazy and as new as the Luke Skywalker or the Yoda roll or something like that, I mean, maybe you guys want to call it the Darth Vader, and I'd be honored and I would be very happy to see that happening. But obviously, that is also up to the person who does those tricks, and I'm very curious to just see all those tricks in the future. And therefore we have the Highline Freestyle group and many other Facebook groups to share those videos in. And I just, yeah, at this point I just can say thank you guys for joining. And if you have any questions, then feel free to put them in the comments right now. I'm happy to be here for a little while longer and answering some of those questions. Otherwise, I'm happy to see you guys on a Slackline festival next year, hopefully. This year probably is going to be very difficult all around the globe to travel and everything, so I hope you guys are having it quite comfortable at the home where you are right now. And I hope the future is going to look much brighter again, and we can meet up in person, and we don't have to do this like online presentations and online meetings, but we can do all of this again in person. And well, I guess if you guys want to thank me on the comments, that's obviously cool. But if you rather have a question, I'll be happy to answer them right now. If you don't have any questions, that's also fair. And I hope you guys enjoyed the talk and enjoyed all the feedback from all the people in there. And well, I was happy to put that story together, and it really like brought me back into the process of thinking about the Luke Skywalker, and it was really cool to just relive those times and to figure out all the details of the history again. And still there's a lot of like missing parts in that history because it's really difficult to research that. So again, if you know about people who tried it earlier than 2013, always just send me a message with the names or the links you can find or anything. And I would be very happy about that too. So yeah, guys, doesn't look like you guys have too much questions, so that is fair as well. And I wish you guys a very good afternoon. Maybe just enjoy the rest of Star Wars Day, and maybe get on a Slackline if your day is just starting, and try some Star Wars tricks. I myself was slacklining this afternoon, and I tried to land the almighty flip. I wasn't quite getting it today because there was a lot of wind and difficult conditions, but I'm definitely going to be back tomorrow, and I'm just going to attempt it again until I finally nail it. So yeah, we do have a question on the comments, and it is funny because that's just what was on my own mind as well. The question is, do I know a girl who attempted any of the Jedi tricks? And in fact, I don't really know much. I guess Louise Lenoble has landed the Obi-Wan and stuff like that, but I'm not 100% sure about this. So I would be very interested to find out about girls who did the Star Wars tricks or any like cool freestyle tricks. So just post it in the freestyle group if you feel like, and I would be happy to see you there. So we have another question from the Trickline Collective, Justin Wages, and so he just asked the questions: where do I see the freestyle highlighting progressing as a sport? So would a qualitative judging system kill the creativity? I mean, that is always a tricky question, and I don't really want to elaborate here about my opinion on judging criteria for freestyle contests. In the very first place, I'm gonna say I would just love in general to see more contests happening. So I was really looking forward to this year and a lot of cool slackline competitions, freestyle competitions, which were on the schedule, which obviously all got cleared by the coronavirus. And I really hope that we can just like connect to this again next year and just push it again. And what judging system is the right for highline freestyle is very difficult to say and is very subjective, I'd say. So I don't really think we are at a point where we need to decide that super clearly right now. Obviously, the ISA and the structures behind it, they are there to create a system with a lot of freestyle highliner athletes themselves. And I'm very sure we will find a system which works best for the future. And I don't think that a judging system will eliminate creativity, but I think we will need to be very careful to design it in a way where it's not going to be like pushing people into single tricks and single combos, but where it leaves this like personal thing to it, and where everyone can still like do tricks in their own way and connect them in their own way, because I think that is what Highland Freestyle and like all like slacklining is all about, that every person can like completely do the things in their own way, and thereby also just like widening and broadening the slacklining realm. So yeah, it's gonna be a difficult thing to find a judging system, but I'm sure as a community and with all the resources we have at hand, we will make it happen. So yeah, guys, thank you very much. I see a few people leaving, and I'm thinking that it's all sad about the Star Wars Collective and the Star Wars series. I myself just watched the Star Wars movies the other day again, and maybe you have time to do that yourself. Otherwise, I definitely recommend you go slacklining and try some tricks I just showed you. And I would be happy to get some feedback. Send me your videos. If you try a Luke Skywalker the other day, shoot a video and send it over. I'd love to see people try that trick again, even if it's a little difficult on nowadays line. But just rig another old school line and have a try on it. All right, thank you guys, and enjoy your day.